Courtroom dramas certainly form the core of television and novels these days, and news reports seem filled with the details of celebrity trials. That's because court scenes make for good drama. They're good television because there's always a conflict of characters, a quest for the truth. And in the case of a trial by jury, that suspense that comes when we all wait for the final decision. For an actor, they make for juicy parts. But what you see and read in the comfort of your living room is far different from what you're likely to see today in a real-life legal proceeding. Hello, I'm Pam Coulter, and I want to welcome you to the Montgomery County Circuit Court. And I want to congratulate you for taking the time to participate in what is one of the most important calls to duty every citizen of the United States can make. Just think about it. You're the living embodiment of the constitutional mandate that every man and woman in our country has a right to a fair and impartial hearing. It's one of the key pillars of our democratic process, and you're about to experience it. Jury service is frankly just as important as civic or military service because jury duty protects that basic American right we all have to a jury trial. You and the people being tried in this courthouse today do have the right to be presumed innocent, the right to be heard, and a right to be judged by one's peers. And it is your role as a member of the jury to be the impartial and independent third party. You literally will be deciding and safeguarding our country's tradition of fairness and laws. So here you are, jury duty. Just like everyone else here, you've had to drop everything, juggle job and family responsibilities, sacrifice days out of your life to come and sit here with a room full of strangers. So what can you expect when you sit on a jury? And what does a real trial look like? Let's talk about it. Here at the Montgomery County Circuit Court, there are two main types of trials that happen, a criminal trial and a civil trial. In a criminal trial, a prosecuting attorney represents the people of the state. On the other side is the defendant, who's been charged with violating state law. The purpose of the trial is to decide if, in fact, laws have been violated. In a civil trial, a person or company who feels wronged files a lawsuit requesting relief or damages through the court. We call that person the plaintiff. The plaintiff names a person or company who the plaintiff believes is responsible for their loss. That person has a right to come to court to defend themselves. So as you might expect, we call that person or company the defendant. But that defendant should not be confused in any way with a criminal defendant. In a civil trial, your job is to decide if in fact there was wrongdoing and how the dispute should be settled. There are some other differences between a civil and a criminal trial, the number of jurors who sit on a case, and the standards of proof to be applied to the evidence. But in both types of trials, as a juror, it will be your job to determine the facts and to apply the law as provided to you by the judge. It's your responsibility to deliberate and to fairly and impartially decide the outcome of the case. No matter the kind of trial for which you may be selected, there are a number of key players. There's the judge, of course, who's responsible for the conduct of the trial. There's the courtroom clerk who swears in the jury and all the witnesses, is responsible for all the documents and physical evidence in the trial, and also monitors the audio recording of the proceedings. And in a criminal trial, there will be sheriffs present to maintain security and order in the courtroom. At the two tables facing the judge are the disputing parties. In a criminal trial, the prosecuting attorney occupies one table, the defendant, the person accused, and his lawyer, the other. In a civil trial, instead of a prosecuting attorney, you'll see the plaintiff, and probably an attorney for the plaintiff. Remember, the plaintiff is the party asking for relief. At the other table is the person or company who is defending the allegations in the lawsuit, probably also with a lawyer. The final players in this courtroom scene are you, the jurors. And here's how you might be selected. You and your fellow jurors will be asked to sit through what's called voir dire, an old French phrase that means to see and to speak. Literally, during this process, the judge will ask you the questions so that the parties and their lawyers can see you and hear your answers. As you might imagine, the lawyers on both sides want to have a panel of jurors they believe will act fairly to their client. But if you're excused during this process, you should in no way consider it a reflection on you, your intelligence, or certainly your integrity. In fact, it's often a bit of a mystery why attorneys decide to dismiss someone, but it is their and their client's right to do so. So let's talk a bit about the trial itself. Most of this is familiar territory for those of us who watch legal dramas, but there are a few things to keep in mind. As a trial begins, you will probably first hear each party present its side of the dispute. These are called opening statements. Keep in mind these opening statements are not evidence. It's just a chance to tell you how each side sees the case. After those opening comments, under the watchful eye of the presiding judge, the people who feel they've been wronged will present real evidence, witnesses, exhibits, and documents to try to convince you they've been hurt in some way. Most real trials are all about oral testimony, so don't expect a lot of pictures or fancy DNA tests. You probably aren't going to see a lot of dramatic outbursts or surprises. Most trials are pretty methodical, fact upon fact. Sometimes it can get tedious. But it is important because without all the facts, you can't make a fair and impartial decision. Also, you should know from time to time the attorneys might huddle with the judge. Don't feel left out. Their discussions concern points of law and whether certain things should be admitted as evidence. While it may seem as if all you're doing is waiting around, the judge is calling the lawyers forward to guarantee a fair trial and also to make sure you hear the proper evidence. Then after all the evidence is in, each side gets to make a statement to you, the jury. That's called closing arguments. And then, well, it's your turn. It all comes down to you, the jury. The judge will instruct you how the law applies to the case, and you will retire to the jury room to deliberate. Let's talk about that. All you need is an open mind, an ability to be fair, and to reconsider your opinions. And yes, it is important to use good old common sense. Did the witnesses tell the truth? Is the evidence credible? What are the actual facts of the case as you see them? Remember, your opinion is absolutely equal to everyone else's in the jury room, no matter what their education or their station in life. And once you reach your verdict, you'll head back to the court and tell the judge. And that's it. That's the end of your jury service. And you know, studies show most people who serve on juries come away with a more favorable view of our legal system. If the process frustrates you along the way, try to remember this. As you and thousands of others all over the country are doing your civic duty today, you're not only guaranteeing the rights of others to a fair and impartial trial, but you're guaranteeing the same rights for yourself, your family, and all of us here in Montgomery County. So on behalf of everyone here who works in our justice system, thank you for your time and for being willing to serve as members of the jury.